Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rogers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners. We have medical doctors. We have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids, like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Love and wellness. Life, love, and wellness.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you so much for including me in your project.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I mean, you have so much to offer. You've done so much intensive research and study on African Americans, particularly, and our contributions to humanity and society. So you're an author, and you're really involved deeply into helping us to see our ancestral connection with the motherland, and just for us to understand our power and our strength and who we are in our melanated skin. So you've done several books. You've done a word book that bridges the information with the also with people that like to do the word searches or the puzzle books, right?
Yes, yes. I'm looking at that one from a couple of angles, from the angle of just word searches in general and how they help people remain sharp, their brains remain sharp. And in particular, I use that particular format and subject matter as part of my comprehensive approach, I guess, to my writings, which is to help share what I came to conclude after taking a trip to Africa, which sent me on a mission, if you will, to try to help us here in the diaspora in America to heal.
Right. And so that takes on a myriad of looks, right? As far
Right,
as which aspects of life and living we need to touch on.
right. Um, Part of what I do in my books, I try to present as many angles as I can for what I feel we are missing in terms of healing. First, by in the first two books, going through and just kind of re-evaluating, taking a second look at what happened to us during slavery and how we got to be who we are today. And I think it's very important to us, especially in terms of healing, because that process never took place. Um, I did a lot of research after I took my trip to Africa, and in doing so, I came to realize just how many different types of African Americans there are, and so we have a lot of different types of needs. I look at some of those needs in my book, but those of our ancestors who were still enslaved never had an opportunity to heal. They had to be stressed. They were, traumatized from their experiences, and they were expected to just pick up and go along. The same thing with, the experiences that were passed down to us. They may have had an origin in what was done to us during slavery, but the behaviors were just passed down through us, through our parents and our parents' parents, and just never addressed. One example I can think of is the way that we or our generation disciplined or received discipline and learned how to discipline our children. During our enslavement, it was vital for parents to be able to control their children because of to keep them out of harm's way. When something was threatening the black structure of that family, whether it was a formal family or informal through jumping the broom or whatever, that family unit, the children, if there was harm coming their way, the children had to respond to their parents' control over them. They didn't have the luxury of questioning what the parents said or anything like that the kids are doing now. To me, that's how it started in terms of the harsh behavior that the parents kind of meted out to the children to get that point across. I mean, but there was no explanation that came with it. It was just, okay, you felt threatened by your parent in some cases, but that person is really trying to impress upon you the need for you not to go and try to drink water out of that fountain or go and play with the white child over here, or even look in somebody's face, so that kind of thing. But it just kind of passed down from each generation, and so but the meaning for it kind of lost its way as we went along. So those are the kind of things that I think that it would benefit all of us to just kind of put on the table and discuss, so that we can see what it was, so we can become conscious of it, or woke, as the young kids are saying now. For the children, they had no idea why the parents are treating them so harshly, and from the parents' standpoint, it may be because of issues of shame, or especially for the adult male, the father to have to admit to his family, that he's not able to protect them, or, keep them from harm's way. So rather than showing that feeling of hurt, or wounded pride, or whatever, that kind of thing was just swallowed, and then the end result is what the child saw, which was harsh behavior, or whippings, or, that kind of thing. When I was young, in elementary school, my father, me and my brother would play, and my mother would tell on us when he came home from work. But one day, we had really done her in. So when he came in, he was really upset with us, and so he told us that he was going to hang us, and he had us to go and find a rope, and there was a tree next to the house where we lived. And he went through the whole motions. My daddy was he was a little different, but he went through the motions as if he was going to hang us, and just to scare us out of our minds. And like, I was really like, what? He didn't give any explanation for it. He didn't hang us, obviously, but I would never have even followed any kind of thread about that behavior had I not been at my uncle's. My uncle passed, and at his service, I think one of our cousins, or one of my dad's cousins, got up, and he was talking about my uncle, and then he related to an experience that their father had done the same thing to him. Well, their father was closer into the age of Jim Crow. He wasn't a slave, but his father was a slave, so it was more relevant to my grandfather as a fear that had been instilled upon him, the whole hanging thing. And I think part of it was also to kind of take some of the whole terror from the Ku Klux Klan, and just kind of make it seem not right, but just made it seem as if it made sure that they knew that it was a consequence that could be experienced, without him putting on a sheet and a hood and stuff like that. But anyway, it just kind of passed down to my father. I don't know what my father's conscious thoughts were about it, but that's where he got it from, an experience in his childhood, so I don't know if that was a little vague, but
no, not vague at all, because what it seems is that your father never healed
right
from that experience,
right.
And so that's why he then exposed you and your brother to that,
and thought it was okay to
right.
threaten us with
right.
with hanging,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's the when I went to Africa and saw how especially in the countryside, how the mothers, the relationship between the mothers, the parents, and their children, and how they were treated more like children, and expected to. They were taught to behave, but it wasn't in a harsh way at all. And the same thing when my son was in a Muslim school, and when I go over to visit the school and just watching the other Muslim women and their children, and just the parents, how they interacted with their children. It was the same way as in Africa with that love, that you could see the love. The children, it was clear to the children that they were being loved, and even when they were being disciplined, there was no, hanging threats involved, that kind of thing. So anyway, we've just had a lot, that we have experienced. And like I said, there was never an opportunity to heal. There were some of us who were freed earlier than others. Some came at the early end, at the beginning of slavery, and they were indentured for a number of years, and then they were allowed to be free citizens, earn a living, become professional, have their own businesses and that kind of thing. There were those of us who came to this country escaping from Haiti, as they were the sons and daughters of the slave owners there, and because of the culture that was developed to raise the slave owners' children, offspring, up above the masses of us, as a way of keeping us separate and keeping us divided. There were a lot of people who had to run from black people of African descent who had to leave Haiti and come to this country, for fear of their lives during the revolution. Then you have people here who were people whose ancestors were part of the breeding farms, and so their whole culture is something completely different. There was no need for for that. In that particular universe, there was no existence of love and family unit, because what the end result was going to be. In other places, it might have been a surprise to have one of the relatives sold off, but in the breeding farms, that was what the business was. You make the children are sold someplace else, or that kind of thing. So those kinds of things were just go down, through our DNA, and so we've retained, all of that experience, and it's different types of experiences, but we're considered as African Americans here, and those things, just the fact that there are so many differences have not really been pointed out that much. So the color in our community, why, not only the lighter skinned people, but the darker skinned people, don't like the lighter skinned people. The lighter skinned people don't like the dark, and it's all because of what that whole institution was about, but as the generations continue to come in, the information or the reasons behind that behavior is left behind, and we're just left with the behavior.
The colorism.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting concept, the breeding farms. And I'm sure that has an effect on how people relate to one another within our communities. What is your take on that, as far as how that has destroyed the strength that we had as a family unit over in Africa, and then we, brought here, and it's dismantled, so to speak. You know?
There was everything done to dismantle the family unit, from splitting the family and sending them to different places, to making it impossible for the system of spirituality and worship, the language, not allowing marriages or anything like that. So it was all fluid depending on what your circumstance. Once we find out, once we are able to just flush things out and to acknowledge them, to acknowledge, that these terrible things happened to our ancestors, and therefore we have may have family relatives who act a certain way, and we're not sure why. Nobody ever wants to talk about it or what went on with them. We don't. In the end results, though, I don't think we really, because for most of us, we will never know what exactly happened to our ancestors. And so, but I think the main thing is to understand that there were a lot of things that did happen to our ancestors, and the main purpose that I'm trying to bring about is for us to give ourselves a break and to give each other a break, and to just start, as a way of getting beyond that, just loving each other, just loving each other and learning how to do that, and what that entails, and learning that it's okay to do that. It's okay for us to love each other and to accept each other for who we are and where we may have come from. And I think that once we are able to do that, the sky is the limit for us, because we're at a point now, after we were freed from slavery and after the period where we were in the Jim Crow South especially, but other places in this country where we were physically assaulted and we couldn't reasonably, and there's some issues now, of course, but just generally as a group, we could not expect to be treated fairly in terms of our physical safety and being able to provide for our families. But we're past that point now. So, but we're still doing things from habit, from the way things used to be. We're still waiting for the government money to come in and start a Head Start program, when, my living room is big enough to have some kids come in here. To gradually make that turn so that we can reattach ourselves to our community nature, our nature of living in a community and being a village that raises a child, and making sure that everybody in our village had what they needed, like Jesus was saying, making sure that the widows are taken care of with their, someone's left with little children. The community can help that person, to heal emotionally and to try to get back on their feet and help them, financially and other materially while they're trying to do it. I think we're still kind of waiting for our former captors to do things for us that we can now do for ourselves, reduced to money. And my life, I want to get married because this person has this amount of money, or I can have enough money to send my children over here, or that kind of thing. And looking in terms of looking for money instead of what the desires of our heart actually are. A lot of unconditioning that needs to take place. But I think that if we get started with it, and to just, as I said before, not look for, or maybe I didn't say this, not look for approval, because we do things this way. Well, this is the way that, somewhere in our being still tells us to do them, and as long as the God self directs us in that direction, then, it doesn't have to be, I don't have to have a BMW or whatever to show that I'm successful. I don't have to have that as my goal for every waking moment of my day, of every day, and I know people who, I used to know people who are like that. Their whole life revolves around, getting material things that you cannot take with you at the end of your life's journey or whatever. So
Great points. So in closing, is there a summary or a couple of points you want to make to the listening audience that can be incorporated into increasing the wellness of our communities?
I think the greatest thing, or the thing that I would like to, the greatest point that I would like to leave everybody with is learning to recognize your God self, because it all starts with that, and learning to recognize the voice that is within you that will direct your path, and learning that you are worthy of hearing that voice, that you are not a child of a lesser God, that this is for, like as Jesus said, he came to show us that we to live life and live life abundantly. So the things the material things, not money, not Fort Knox, or although I understand that's empty, but the things that you want, the things that are the desires of your heart, your creativity can blossom, once you are confident enough in your inner spirit, then you can be open to love, and the love that you pour out is returned, So I think that's the greatest lesson that all of us can learn.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Linda Pace Samuel. You have just been a joy and shining light on a lot of things that we can incorporate into our lives. And so we sincerely appreciate you.
Thank you.